It all started with a voicemail that was never meant to be heard. Now, the internet is ablaze with a leaked emotional statement, allegedly written by Kirk Frost to young Jock. This startling revelation has completely shifted the narrative, leaving fans in shock. In the recording, Kirk's voice cracks as he pleads, "Bro, please don't let this ruin everything. I need your attention. I was mistaken." Fans couldn't help but express their surprise as Kirk Frost, known for his tough persona and power moves on TV, seemed to show an unexpected moment of vulnerability. Was this the same man who had always been unyielding? Nobody saw this coming, and viewers were beginning to wonder if this was truly a man trying to make amends. But just as viewers started to sympathize with him, a terrible twist came. A second piece of footage surfaced hours later, and this one had nothing to do with forgiveness. Instead, it revealed something much darker. The world of hip-hop and love is spiraling into chaos. Was young Jock set up by Kirk? Are these clips being leaked to tarnish his reputation? And why has Jock remained silent? What happens next? Stay with us, because this could very well be the biggest betrayal yet. What started as a plea for forgiveness quickly morphed into something far worse. The drama involving Kirk Frost, young Jock, and the entire love and hip-hop franchise took an unexpected and explosive turn when a private voicemail leaked into the public eye. Originally meant to be a discreet behind-the-scenes apology, it quickly sparked one of the most spectacular scandals in reality TV history. In the voicemail, purportedly left by Kirk Frost to young Jock, he seems genuinely regretful, pleading for forgiveness. "Please, my friend, I made a mistake. Don't let this ruin everything we've experienced. We've been through too much." Fans were left astounded. Kirk, known for his hard edge and sometimes unforgiving nature, was now pleading with a tone of desperation, as if he'd hit his breaking point. His words faltered, and his voice cracked. Even the most seasoned reality TV watchers couldn't believe what they were hearing. For a moment, it seemed like Kirk might actually be remorseful for his past actions, especially concerning the drama with young Jock. The sudden vulnerability caught everyone off guard. But just when it seemed like Kirk might be genuinely sorry, things took another unexpected turn. Hours later, another clip surfaced, and this one was completely different. A member of the cast, who had been close to Kirk, was the recipient of the call. Kirk's tone was no longer one of desperation or sadness. Instead, he sounded irritated and determined. "I'm done with this. I don't know what Jock's been trying to do, but he's the one who wanted the drama. He's to blame, not me. I refuse to sit here and accept responsibility for anything." Kirk Frost's cool, collected voice had returned. However, it was tinted with frustration, anger, and perhaps most telling of all, a sense of betrayal. Why would a man who had just pleaded for forgiveness change his mind so quickly? How could someone who seemed so desperate for young Jock's approval suddenly point the finger? After being touched by the initial voicemail, fans were now questioning everything. Was all of this a manipulation? Had Kirk been pretending to be a victim just to win the public's sympathy? And why, in the first place, did he feel the need to broadcast such a private moment to the world? Outrage was triggered by the second voicemail. A passionate accusation swiftly replaced the heartfelt apology. Fans, and even his closest followers, were left confused by what seemed like a total 180-degree turn. Who was Kirk Frost really? Was this all part of a larger scheme, or did he genuinely regret what he had done? Now, it was clear this was a verbal confrontation, and it was just getting started. It wasn't just about forgiveness. The person at the center of this controversy was young Jock, Kirk's longtime friend. But how did he interpret all of this? Since the voicemails were leaked, young Jock had not said a word. Supporters eagerly awaited his response, hoping that something, anything, would reveal the truth. Was Jock hurt, angry, or did he just not care? The fire was only fueled by the lack of response. The Love and hip-hop production team was working tirelessly behind the scenes to manage the fallout. The franchise's creator, Mona Scott-Young, was reportedly furious about the situation. According to insiders, this had reached a new level of chaos, but she had built the show on drama. Now, however, Kirk's future on the series was in question. Would Kirk be removed from the show entirely? Had he planned this all along for his own personal gain? As days went by, more details began to surface. Rumors spread that the second voicemail had been leaked by someone from young Jock's crew. It couldn't have been an accident. Why else would Kirk's charges come to light just hours after the heartfelt plea? Was Kirk's reputation about to be destroyed, painting him as more manipulative than he already appeared? The rumors swirling around the love and hip-hop set were becoming increasingly intense. Some cast members suggested that Jock had secretly been plotting his revenge. Others speculated that it had all been orchestrated from the start as a publicity stunt. Fans were left wondering, was this all a game? The line between what was staged and what was real began to blur. Had everything truly gone out of control? The pressure was mounting for Kirk. The public's reaction was mixed. Some fans continued to believe that he was genuinely sorry and that he wanted to make things right. Others, however, were beginning to view him differently. The man who had pleaded for forgiveness just hours before now seemed to be constantly shifting the blame and making excuses. Fans could sense that the emotional roller coaster was wearing them down. Kirk's wife, Rashida, was caught in the crossfire. Over the years, she had been a supportive partner, but suddenly, she was thrust into the spotlight in a way she never imagined possible. Her personal life had suffered because of her husband's ongoing drama. Was this the moment their relationship ended? Was this the point at which she would leave him, or would she stand by him through it all? Supporters couldn't wait to see what Rashida would do next. It became clear that this crisis was far from over, as more phone calls and voicemails began to surface. The puzzle grew more complex with each new piece of information. Who was the true source of the leaks? Was Kirk really the victim in all of this, or was it all part of a bigger scheme to ruin his career? The world was watching, anticipating the next surprise, and the drama was just getting started. What would come next? Would Jock ever speak out? Was Kirk too far gone, or could his apology be enough to restore his reputation? Above all, how would Mona Scott Young handle him? Nobody knew how this wild story would conclude, and Kirk Frost's fate was hanging in the balance. The situation was beginning to spiral out of control as the drama involving Kirk Frost and young Jock reached new heights. The voicemail leak had just been the start. The public's focus was entirely on the two celebrities, and the media was in full swing due to the tape release. What had started as a silent apology quickly descended into a verbal and physical altercation. There was a noticeable tension between Kirk and Jock, and it seemed they would never recover from the consequences. Previously supportive fans were beginning to doubt Kirk's intentions. When he apologized, they had believed him, but now it seemed he was trying to manipulate the situation to his advantage. Many others felt that Kirk wasn't as sorry as he appeared because of the shift in tone, from an impassioned plea to an icy, blame-shifting tirade. Fans who had invested in his redemption story were not pleased with this abrupt change. At this point, people started questioning whether Kirk Frost was the true victim in this case, or just another participant in the love and hip-hop game, using the story to further his own interests. The inquiries kept coming, and it seemed like new details about the drama behind the scenes were being revealed every hour. There had been another voicemail, supposedly from Kirk to his close confidant. In this message, Kirk didn't sound like someone trying to mend a damaged relationship. Instead, he sounded like someone trying to shift responsibility. He was clearly agitated, angry, and resentful. He was heard stating, "I won't sit here and let him ruin me. I'm aware of what's going on, and I refuse to be duped. This is on him, not me." The way Kirk appeared to be planning his next move in the second tape was particularly unsettling. He seemed ready for a fight. His spirit had changed, and his admirers could sense that he was preparing for battle rather than pleading for forgiveness. Now, preserving his career, saving face, and preventing Jock or anyone else from bringing him down were more important than making amends with young Jock. Meanwhile, young Jock remained eerily silent. He hadn't spoken about the voicemails or what had transpired publicly, despite the chaos surrounding him. His silence was deafening. The leaked voicemails and the rumors circulating on social media were all that fans had for now, and they were eager to hear his side of the story. Had Jock's friend truly deceived him, or was he just waiting, preparing for a carefully considered response? However, silence did not necessarily mean inaction. According to sources close to Jock, he was meeting privately with his team to discuss the best course of action. Rumor had it that Jock had been in discussions with his attorneys about the possibility of suing Kirk for what he believed to be slander. If this was true, the drama had gone well beyond reality TV. Now the stakes were much higher. The fans were becoming increasingly agitated. The flames were being stoked simply by Jock's silence. Jock seemed to be holding his cards close to the vest, but fans still wanted to hear from him. The rumors only grew louder the longer he remained silent. Some fans believed Jock was waiting for the right moment to expose Kirk, while others thought he was carefully weighing his options, unsure of the potential consequences of revealing the truth. Meanwhile, the entire Love and hip-hop family was feeling the repercussions of this incident. While the world focused on the conflict between the two men, individuals within the cast were starting to take sides. Some cast members openly supported Kirk, while others rallied behind young Jock. A few were even beginning to publicly criticize Kirk for the way he handled the situation. They found it incomprehensible that he could move from pleading for forgiveness to accusing others. This kind of drama could tear apart the entire cast. It was said that Mona Scott-Young was furious behind the scenes. The producer was confronted with a situation she hadn't anticipated. Despite having built her business on extreme drama for the reality TV show, the entire production was in disarray due to the leaked voicemails. The integrity of the franchise was in jeopardy, in addition to Kirk's future on the show. After watching Love and Hip Hop for the drama, many began to wonder if was the program authentic or really a staged production? Could Mona make this right, or had Kirk's behavior damaged the show irreparably? According to people close to Mona, she was weighing all her options. There were rumors that Kirk might be kicked off the show entirely. The producers were concerned about how his behavior would impact the show's reputation and ratings. Kirk had been a part of the program for a long time, so it was a daring and risky decision to fire him. However, everyone was wondering if it would be worth it in the long run. The entire Love and Hip Hop brand was damaged by Kirk's actions, not just his own reputation. Fans began questioning whether Kirk and Jock would ever reconcile as their tension escalated. Was this the beginning of the end, or could they repair their broken friendship? This situation was different from the many feuds and fallouts the show had experienced. The charges were more serious, the emotions more raw, and the personal stakes higher. This was a fight for respect, reputation, and professional survival, not just for screen time. Fans started to speculate that Kirk's actions were part of a larger scheme, something even more calculated than anyone had previously realized. Had he taken advantage of the situation? Was he aware that making the voicemail public would create enough controversy to keep his name in the news? Was this all part of a strategy to remain relevant in the world of hip-hop and reality TV? Ultimately, what better way to stay in the public eye than to spark a controversy so explosive that everyone would be forced to talk about it? Others argued that Kirk was simply a victim of his own circumstances. At first, his emotional plea for forgiveness had been genuine, but the situation had spiraled out of control. Somewhere along the way, the strain of being on reality TV and the constant scrutiny of his private life had taken its toll. Regardless of the perspective, Kirk was now fighting for his career and possibly his future in the public spotlight. Fans were anxiously awaiting the next move, and the clock was ticking. Was Kirk doomed, or could he turn things around? What would Jock's next move be? Would he play the long game and keep his cards close, or would he confront Kirk head-on? There was no doubt that this story was far from over and would soon become even messier. The stakes were higher than ever as the drama between Kirk Frost and young Jock intensified. The situation escalated to unprecedented heights, and it felt like every action they took only added fuel to the fire. No one could have predicted what was going to happen, but fans were eagerly awaiting the next chapter in this historic feud. The public outbursts, the leaked voicemails, and the behind-the-scenes speculations were just the beginning of a far darker story that would soon take center stage. At first, Kirk's emotional. The collapse during the voicemail leak had seemed like a last-ditch effort at atonement, but as the days went by, it became evident that much more was at play. After the second voicemail surfaced, his deliberate silence began to raise questions. After initially accepting his apologies, many started to doubt his sincerity. Was he merely trying to control the narrative to suit his interests, or had he genuinely been trying to patch things up with young Jock? Was there something deeper going on, or was Kirk Frost, the popular reality star, just trying to save face? Everyone was shocked by a fresh development that surfaced as the public debate continued. The third voicemail was far more explosive than the first two. In the recording, Kirk was heard speaking with what appeared to be a close friend or confidant. "I can't believe this is happening," he said in a fit of rage. "This was never meant to happen this way. After everything I've done for Jock, he can't get away with this. I refuse to be portrayed as the villain." This voicemail was especially damaging because Kirk seemed entirely focused on protecting his personal reputation. He was more concerned with how the incident might affect his public image than with offering an apology or showing any genuine regret. "I'm done. If I lose everything over this," he added, "I cannot allow them to defeat me. They'll be sorry." The third voicemail painted a completely different picture of Kirk than the public had been led to believe. It became more and more obvious that Kirk was more focused on maintaining his reputation than on genuinely mending his friendship with young Jock. A fresh wave of social media reactions was triggered by this revelation. Those who had once supported Kirk now felt deceived. How could someone who had expressed such regret end up being so manipulative? The reaction was swift and harsh. Young Jock, however, remained noticeably silent. His lack of engagement in public discourse only fueled speculation about his next move. Fans speculated that Jock was planning a major reveal and had already made up his mind. Others thought he was simply allowing things to play out, knowing that Kirk's reputation would only worsen with each new voicemail or conversation released. Jock's silence grew more pronounced the longer he stayed silent, while the tension continued to rise. There were rumors that young Jock might be preparing to sue Kirk for the damage caused by the leaked voicemails. According to sources close to Jock, he was considering a defamation lawsuit because of the emotional toll the entire ordeal had taken on him. If these rumors were true, it indicated that the dispute had escalated into a much more serious legal matter, going well beyond reality TV drama. Jock's potential lawsuit wasn't the only shocking revelation. There were apparently disagreements among the Love and Hip Hop cast members about how to handle the situation behind the scenes. While some thought Kirk was being unfairly singled out, others believed he had gone too far by airing his personal grievances so publicly. It felt like the Love and Hip Hop family was falling apart with each passing day, and the division among the group was growing more apparent. The creator of the Love and Hip Hop franchise, Mona Scott Young, found herself in a difficult position. It was clear that the franchise's future was at risk because the drama had grown bigger than the actual show. Mona had always thrived on controversy and chaos as the show's founder and producer, but the public backlash over the leaked voicemails was starting to feel like more than just a temporary scandal. Mona was beginning to realize that she might have to make some hard decisions. As the Love and Hip Hop brand's core base began to be fractured, Mona reportedly raised the possibility of Kirk's removal from the show in private meetings with her team. She didn't make the decision lightly, especially considering Kirk's long-standing significance to the Love and Hip Hop brand. However, her hand was being forced by the seriousness of the situation. If Kirk's reputation deteriorated too much, it could affect the entire program. The season could easily be overshadowed by the controversy surrounding him, and Mona was fully aware that the longer this played out, the harder it would be to recover. Meanwhile, Kirk was under increasing pressure. He was now the center of the controversy, and his behavior was being scrutinized at every turn. Many started to wonder if Kirk's career could even be salvaged. As the drama unfolded, the questions grew. Was he going to recover from this? Could he ever make amends for the damage he had done to his reputation and his friendship with young Jock? Or had he buried himself too deep to get out of it? Finally, Kirk broke his silence, trying to regain control of the narrative. He posted on social media, saying that he was taking time to reflect and would be addressing the matter shortly. However, his post didn't do much to calm the storm. Fans were left feeling frustrated and wanting to hear directly from Kirk. Was he truly reflecting on his actions? Or was this just another tactic to buy time and avoid facing difficult questions? Kirk wasn't the only one feeling the emotional strain. The toll of the public crisis was also being felt by young Jock's family. According to sources close to Jock, his loved ones were concerned about the impact the situation was having on him. Reports indicated that Kirk's partner, Kadaya, was upset with him for involving their family in the drama. After being kept away from the chaos of the Love and Hip Hop world, Jock's kids were suddenly exposed to a side of their father's life they weren't prepared to see. Everyone involved was clearly feeling the emotional aftermath, and the personal effects of the drama were widespread. As public attention intensified, everyone began to wonder how this situation would ultimately play out. Did Kirk and young Jock have a chance of reconciling, or had their friendship and careers come to an end? Nobody knew what the next chapter would look like, and the situation was clearly getting out of hand. But one thing was certain: the story was far from over. Revelation. Things seemed to be spiraling, and it became clear that this controversy would take an even more devastating turn in the future. As the days went by, things only seemed to worsen after Kirk Frost's cryptic remark. Supporters were getting agitated, anxiously awaiting some resolution, or, at the very least, a more thorough explanation. However, the tension and frustration were amplified by Kirk's continued silence and the accusations that he was involved in the voicemails that had been leaked. Meanwhile, young Jock was under increasing pressure. He wanted to let the media frenzy play out, so he remained quiet about the entire situation. Fans were growing more impatient, struggling to wait for the next twist in the drama due to his calculated silence. Then, as the tension reached new heights, young Jock's best friend and business partner, who had remained silent during the ordeal, spoke out. In an exclusive interview with a prominent gossip website, the friend revealed that Jock had been carefully preparing his next move. Jock doesn't act hastily or without consideration, the friend clarified. He's been watching Kirk closely, and for now, he's just holding back. But don't be fooled. When he speaks, it will be explosive. Kirk's not getting away with this. The interview caused a stir on the internet, with both supporters and detractors speculating about what Jock's explosive response might entail. Was he preparing something even more dramatic, or would he eventually make a public declaration to end his silence? Fans seemed to agree that things were about to get much more intense once Jock finally spoke, and it felt like that moment was getting closer by the hour. Tensions were also rising behind the scenes among the Love and hip-hop production crew. The show's creator, Mona Scott-Young, was reportedly juggling several meetings as she tried to manage the aftermath of the scandal. According to sources, some producers wanted Kirk to be removed from the show due to concerns that his role in the drama would overshadow the upcoming season. However, others argued that the controversy might actually boost viewership and provide a more compelling storyline. No one on the production crew could agree on the best course of action, and the argument was heating up. Everyone involved was trying to figure out how to turn the drama with Kirk and young Jock into a victory, or, at the very least, prevent it from becoming a complete disaster, as it had escalated into a full-blown crisis for the show. Meanwhile, Kirk's publicist was putting in extra hours, taking media calls and trying to steer the conversation. In several statements, the publicist said that Kirk was ready to make amends with young Jock and that he was deeply sorry for his actions. However, these attempts at damage control were met with suspicion. Fans wanted to see real change, not just hear more hollow excuses. Kirk's inability to take any tangible steps only strengthened the impression that he was more focused on protecting his personal image than on repairing his relationships. His most recent public apology, where he claimed to have been misunderstood, did little to reduce the mounting criticism. People were no longer buying it. Some fans still believed that Kirk could move past this, despite the growing backlash. A few ardent supporters stood by him, insisting that he deserved another chance, because after all, everyone makes mistakes. However, the cacophony of critics demanding accountability was drowning out these voices more and more. It appeared that Kirk was losing the public's patience, and the longer he stayed silent, the harder it would be to regain their trust. In contrast, Kirk's social media presence was having the exact opposite effect compared to Jock's. While Kirk had been quiet, Jock had been posting vague clues and cryptic statements about the situation. In one post, Jock shared a photo of himself with the caption, "Real ones don't need to speak." The message seemed to be a direct jab at Kirk, suggesting that Jock was letting his actions, or even his impending response, speak louder than words. Fans were captivated by the enigmatic post, and speculation continued to grow. But Jock's mysterious posts weren't the only thing fueling the drama. A few members of the Love and hip-hop cast, who had previously been hesitant to comment on the issue, were now standing by Jock. They made it clear that Jock wasn't fighting this battle alone. By showing their support, they signaled that Jock was ready to face whatever was ahead and that he had the backing of his team. This unity in Jock's camp only heightened the tension, suggesting that the next phase of this feud would be nothing short of explosive. Then, everything changed. One fateful night, everyone was shocked when Kirk decided to participate in a live-streamed interview with a major media outlet. This was his chance to clarify the situation and finally share his side of the story. As the interview drew closer, fans and media outlets were buzzing with excitement. Would this be just another attempt to spin the story in Kirk's favor, or was he finally going to own up to his mistakes? Fans weren't prepared for Kirk's behavior when the interview began. His usual confidence was replaced by an almost tangible sense of fragility. He looked tense and nervous as the interviewer, known for their direct approach, wasted no time getting straight to the point. "Kirk, the voicemails have been heard worldwide," the interviewer said. "We've noticed that you apologized, but what's the reality? What transpired between you and young Jock? And why should anyone believe you're genuinely sorry?" Kirk, clearly shaken, inhaled deeply before responding. "I made a mistake. I'm here to accept full responsibility for my actions." However, what people don't realize is that this situation is much more complicated than it seems. I have a lengthy history with young Jock, and our relationship hasn't always been easy. I know I caused him pain, but I never meant for things to go this far. All I want to do is make things right. I wish to fix this." The interviewer persisted, saying, "But you weren't simply wrong. A friend was deceived by you. You revealed private conversations and you told lies. Why should anyone trust you now?" Kirk's expression tensed, and it briefly seemed like he might lose control. "I can't change the past, but I can try to make things right," he responded, gathering himself. "And I will. I owe it to everyone, young Jock, my fans, and my family to try, even if it's not going to be easy." The interview left many questions unanswered, despite being both poignant and revealing. Was Kirk merely trying to save his career, or was he truly remorseful? And what would it take to repair the damage he had caused to his friendship with young Jock if he genuinely felt regret? Supporters were divided, with some praising his candor and others remaining skeptical. The drama between Kirk Frost and young Jock was far from over, and it appeared that the audience would be captivated by it for weeks to come. No one knew how it would end, and the tension was reaching a boiling point. The story had taken a dramatic turn with a live interview, but the pressing questions remained. What action would Jock take next? Would he pursue legal action, or would he accept Kirk's apology? Was this the end of an era for the Love and Hip Hop series, or would it move past the scandal? These questions would eventually be answered, but one thing was certain. The drama was just beginning, and the consequences of this dispute were far from over. The tension between Kirk Frost and young Jock reached its peak as the aftermath of the heated live-stream interview began to settle. Kirk had tried to patch things up, but there was no denying the damage to his reputation. Fans who had once stood by him, no matter what, were now divided. Some couldn't shake the impression that his remarks were just another attempt to protect his career, while others believed he was being sincere. There were still unanswered doubts about his motives, and it was clear that the drama was far from finished. It was unclear what young Jock would do next. Fans were on the edge of their seats as he remained silent, despite growing calls for him to speak up. He appeared to be taking a strategic approach, carefully considering his response to ensure he maintained his support base. His followers were teased by his increasingly cryptic social media posts, which included enigmatic images and oblique remarks. However, there was little doubt that Jock's decision to confront the issue would be explosive. The producers of Love and Hip Hop were still frantically trying to figure out how to handle the aftermath behind the scenes. Although the show had always been a stage for drama, this feud's intensity was unprecedented. To capitalize on the public's interest in the issue, several producers pushed for a storyline focusing on the fallout. However, others were concerned about the long-term effects on the show's reputation. Would the audience turn against Kirk? Would they ever recover from a scandal like this? Kirk continued to try and mend his relationships as the weeks went by, but they appeared to be dissolving. He attempted to present a more humble side of himself during several public appearances, but the public found it difficult to forget what had happened. His family, who had always been his staunchest supporters, seemed to be growing weary of the constant media circus. Although Rashida, his wife, had mostly stayed quiet throughout the ordeal, her presence was frequently felt in the background. Fans speculated about her thoughts on the matter, wondering whether she would continue supporting her husband or turn away from the drama. There was noticeable tension between the two, which only served to stoke the flames. However, young Jock's circle remained unshaken, and his supporters were starting to speak up more. Fans flocked to social media to voice their opinions and demand that Kirk be held accountable for his actions. As the public called for accountability and an end to the ongoing feud, the hashtag #JusticeForJock movement began to gain momentum. The public seemed to have chosen sides, and Kirk appeared to be the one left out in the cold. However, the situation was far from resolved. In the midst of all the chaos, there were still lingering questions. Would young Jock finally respond to Kirk's apology? Could the bond between the two men ever be restored, or had the rift gone too deep for reconciliation? One thing became clear as the drama unfolded. This saga was far from over. The love and hip-hop community held its breath in anticipation of the next twist in the ongoing conflict between Kirk Frost and young Jock. Was this just another chapter in the never-ending drama of reality TV, or was it the end of their story? Time would tell, but one thing was certain. Before the dust settled, viewers could expect even more surprises, twists, and shocking revelations. Kirk's fate still hung in the balance. Was his reputation and career irreparably damaged, or did he still have a chance at redemption? The full consequences of this incident, and whether he would ever regain the trust he had lost, would only become clear with time. Fans stayed glued to every update, eagerly awaiting the next shocking revelation. Would there be a resolution, or would the drama only escalate further? The only thing certain was that the conflict between Kirk Frost and young Jock had rocked the love and hip-hop world to its core, and the effects would be felt for a very long time. Was this the end of an era, or could there be a happy ending? The world was watching, anticipating the next shocking twist. And the drama was far from over. What do you think will happen next? As we wait for the next chapter, will Kirk be forgiven by young Jock, or will their rivalry only grow? What are the implications for hip-hop and love? Leave your comments below with your thoughts, and remember to like and subscribe for more updates on this incredible saga. We've all been left wondering what's happening behind the scenes. The public backlash, the voicemail leaks, and the lingering tension. This is more than just a story. It's a full-fledged reality TV drama nobody saw coming. The crucial question remains, can these two ever reconcile, or is this the start of the end of their relationship? Has the damage been done, or do you think young Jock will accept Kirk's apology? Is this the final nail in the coffin for love and hip-hop, or will it survive this scandal? Let's discuss in the comments. Share your thoughts, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for the latest updates on this bizarre story. Let's keep the conversation going, and you won't want to miss what happens next.